You know, fellas, there was a time when I thought I had it all figured out. Me and Jenny, we were tight, married 10 years, happy as clams. We'd sit on the porch swing, sipping beers, dreaming big. Kids, that was the plan. We'd talk for hours about it, boy or girl, what names we'd pick. I liked Ethan for a boy, she leaned toward Lily for a girl. We'd laugh, picturing this little tyke running around, chasing the dog, calling us mom and dad. It was our future, painted in bright colors, and I could feel it coming, you know? Like it was real already. We decided to go for it. Stopped being careful, started trying. I'd catch her smiling at me across the kitchen table, that soft look in her eyes, like she could see our kid in me already. Months went by though, and nothing happened. At first, we shrugged it off, takes time, right? But then a year passed and that smile of hers started fading. I could feel the air getting heavy between us. So, we went to the doc. Sat there in that cold office, holding hands, waiting for answers. When the guy came back with the results, he looked at me like I'd let the team down. Fertility issues, he said. Severe. Natural conception's off the table. I felt the floor drop out. Couldn't breathe right for a minute. Jenny squeezed my hand, but I couldn't look at her. All those dreams, Ethan, Lily, the porch swing with a kid between us, they just evaporated. I was the problem. Me. The guy who was supposed to build her a family couldn't deliver. That night, I stared at the ceiling till dawn, gut churning. She rolled over, put her arm around me, whispered, "We'll figure it out, Tom. We always do." Her voice was warm and I clung to it like a lifeline. I believed her. Hell, I needed to believe her. For a while, she was solid. We talked options, adoption, maybe, or some fancy treatments. She'd say, "It's us against the world, right?" And I'd nod, feeling like we could take on anything. But then, little by little, things shifted. She stopped touching me as much. Her laugh got sharp, like a blade. One night, I'm sitting there with a beer, and she snaps, "You gonna shave that scruff or what? You look like a damn hobo." I laughed it off, but it stuck with me. That wasn't Jenny. Not my Jenny. I started noticing the distance. She'd stay late at work, come home quiet. I'd ask how her day was, and she'd shrug, barely look up from her phone. I told myself it was stress, that she was processing too. I kept hoping, kept trying, cooked her favorite meals, left notes on the counter. But it was like shouting into a void. I'd lie awake, wondering where she went, the girl who dreamed with me. And deep down, I knew I was losing her. I just didn't want to admit it yet. So there I was, fellas, watching my marriage turn into a ghost town. Jenny's sharp comments kept coming, little jabs about my clothes, my cooking, even the way I chewed my damn food. "Can't you do anything right, Tom?" she'd say, and I'd just sit there, swallowing it down with my coffee. I'd think, she's hurting too. Give her time. But time wasn't fixing a damn thing. It was like she'd checked out and I was the idiot still knocking on the door, begging her to come back. I'd catch her staring out the window, eyes blank, like she was somewhere else. One night, I tried to pull her close, just needing to feel her there, you know? She stiffened up, pushed me off, said, "Not tonight, Tom. I'm tired." Tired. That word started showing up a lot. I'd lie there after, staring at the shadows on the wall, feeling like a stranger in my own bed. I kept telling myself it was the baby thing, she was grieving too, right? But it wasn't just grief. It was something colder. Then came the trip. She dropped it casual like over dinner one night. "Work's sending me to Chicago for a couple weeks," she said, poking at her potatoes. "Big project." I nodded, tried to sound upbeat. "That's great, Jen. You'll kill it." She didn't smile, just kept eating. I should have seen it then, the way she wouldn't meet my eyes. But I was too busy hoping, too busy pretending we were still a team. She packed light, kissed me quick on the cheek, and rolled her suitcase out the door. "See you soon," she said. I waved from the porch, watched her taillights disappear, and felt this pit open up in my gut. Days turned into a week. She'd text once in a while, short stuff, like "busy, talk later." I'd call, get voicemail. Left messages about the dog, the weather, dumb crap just to hear her voice on the recording. By week 2, the text stopped. I'd sit on that porch swing alone, beer in hand, staring at the spot where we used to dream about kids. I'd think, she's just swamped. She'll call. But that pit in my stomach kept growing, whispering stuff I didn't want to hear. 3 weeks in, I called her office. Some lady answered, sounded confused. "Jenny? She's not on any project here. Haven't seen her in weeks." My heart hit the floor. I hung up, hands shaking, and tore through the house, her closet, her drawers. Half her stuff was gone. Not just trip stuff. Clothes, jewelry. That little box where she kept her mom's old letters. She didn't just leave for work. She left me. No note, no fight, no nothing. Just vanished. Like I was nothing to her. I stood there in our bedroom, the silence screaming at me. 10 years gone. I sank onto the bed, head in my hands, and felt it all crash down. Anger, hurt, this sick, hollow ache. I didn't know where she was, who she was with, or why. All I knew was I'd been holding on to a ghost, and now even the ghost was gone. Alright guys, picture this, your whole world's just blown up, and you're standing there in the rubble wondering how the hell you didn't see it coming. That was me after Jenny ghosted. I didn't cry at first, too pissed off for that. I grabbed a beer, then another, sat on that damn porch swing, till the sun came up, trying to figure out what I did wrong. Was it the fertility thing? Did she blame me that much? Or was I just not enough anymore? My head was a mess, spinning with questions that didn't have answers. The days after that were a blur. I'd go to work, fixing cars down at the shop, wrench in hand, but my mind was somewhere else. Guys at the garage noticed. "You all right, Tom?" they'd ask. I'd grunt, "Yeah, fine," and keep tightening bolts. But I wasn't fine. I'd come home to that empty house, the quiet hitting me like a punch. Her coffee mug was still in the sink. I couldn't bring myself to wash it. Pathetic, right? Holding on to a dirty mug like it'd bring her back. Nights were the worst. I'd lie in bed, staring at her side, the pillow still dented from where her head used to be. I'd replay every fight, every cold shoulder, looking for the moment she decided I wasn't worth it. Booze helped for a while, whiskey mostly. I'd sit there, glass in hand, talking to the dog. "She's gone, buddy. Just you and me now." He'd wag his tail, clueless, while I drowned in it. I wasn't eating right, wasn't sleeping. Lost 20 pounds before I even noticed. Then one day, I'm at the shop, hands greasy, and my buddy Mike corners me. "Man, you look like hell. What's going on?" I didn't want to say it. Felt like admitting it out loud made it real. But it spilled out anyway. "Jenny's gone. Left me. Don't know where she is." He didn't say much, just clapped me on the shoulder. Next day, he shows up with a card, some therapist's number. "You need to talk to someone, Tom. This ain't you." I laughed it off at first. Therapy? That's for soft guys, right? But I kept that card. Weeks later, I'm sitting there with a shrink named Dave. Older guy, gray hair, no bullshit. I told him everything, voice cracking like some kid. He didn't judge, just listened. "You're not the failure here, Tom," he said. "She made a choice. Now you've got to make yours." That stuck with me. A choice. I'd been drifting, letting her leaving define me. Maybe I could choose something else. So I started small. Fixed up the house. Painted the kitchen, threw out that damn mug. Took Buddy for longer walks, started running even. Legs burned, lungs screamed, but it felt good, like I was shaking something loose. Therapy kept me honest. Dave didn't let me dodge the hard stuff. I was mad, yeah, but under that was this ache, this fear I'd never be whole again. Slowly, though, I started feeling like me. Not the old me, but a new one. Stronger, maybe. Alone, but not broken. Not yet. So there I was, fellas, clawing my way out of the pit Jenny left me in. It wasn't pretty. Some days I'd wake up still tasting whiskey on my breath, still hearing her voice in my head, cutting me down. But I was done being her punching bag, even if she wasn't around to throw the punches anymore. I'd look in the mirror, see this gaunt, scruffy guy staring back, and think, "Who the hell are you, Tom?" I didn't like the answer, but I was starting to figure out I could change it. Therapy with Dave was like rebuilding an engine. Slow, messy, but piece by piece it started running smoother. He'd ask me stuff like, "What do you want, Tom?" Not her. "What do you want?" First, I didn't know. I'd spent so long chasing her dreams. Our dreams, I thought, that I'd forgotten mine. So I dug deep, started running more, not just to tire myself out, but because it made me feel alive. I'd hit the trails behind the house, Buddy trotting alongside, and for a few miles my head would clear. No Jenny, no what-ifs, just me and the dirt. Work got better too. I threw myself into it. Fixing cars became my therapy outside the office. I'd lose hours under a hood, hands black with grease, and come up grinning when the motor purred. The guys at the shop noticed. "There's the old Tom," Mike said one day, tossing me a rag. I smirked, wiped my hands, and thought, not the old Tom, a new one. I even started tinkering on my own ride, a '67 Chevy I'd been meaning to restore. Late nights in the garage, radio cranking, just me and the tools. It felt good building something that didn't walk away. I made changes at home too. Painted the bedroom, got rid of that pale blue she picked. Went with a dark green, something solid, mine. Threw out half the junk we collected over the years, her magazines, those damn throw pillows she loved. Buddy watched me haul it to the curb, tail wagging like he approved. I'd sit on the porch after, beer in hand, and it didn't feel so empty anymore. The swing didn't creak with her absence, it just rocked with me, and that was enough. A year passed like that, maybe more. Time's funny when you're putting yourself back together, it stretches, bends. I wasn't the same guy she left. I'd grown a beard, kept it neat, not hobo style, put some muscle back on from the running. Dave kept pushing me, "You're not just surviving, Tom. You're living. Own it." And I was starting to. I'd go out with the guys sometimes, nothing wild, just beers at the bar, shooting the breeze. Laughed more than I had in years. Felt like I was waking up from a long, bad dream. I think about her sometimes, wonder where she went, who she was with. But it didn't gut me anymore. It was like looking at an old photo, faded, distant. I didn't need her to tell me I was worth something. I was proving it to myself, one day at a time. And then, just when I thought I'd left the past in the dust, it came knocking. Literally. All right, guys, just when I thought I'd turned the page, life threw me a curveball that'd make your head spin. It was a Saturday, late afternoon, sun dipping low, casting long shadows across the yard. I'd been out back, sanding down a fender for the Chevy, sweat on my brow, hands dusty. Buddy was sprawled in the grass, chewing his stick when I heard it, the crunch of tires on gravel. I figured it was Mike, maybe dropping by with a six-pack. Wiped my hands on my jeans, walked around front, and stopped dead. There she was. Jenny. Standing by a beat-up sedan, hair longer than I remembered, wearing some flowy dress that didn't suit her old self. My chest tightened, but not like before, not with longing. It was something else, something heavy and sharp. She looked at me, eyes flickering, and then I saw it, a kid in her arms. Little thing, maybe a year old, clinging to her shoulder. My brain locked up. I stood there, rooted, as she started walking toward me, that nervous half-smile on her face like we were picking up where we left off. "Tom," she said, voice soft, like she was testing the waters. I needed to see you." I didn't say a word, just stared, feeling the air get thick. The kid squirmed, big eyes darting around, and I couldn't help it, I did the math. A year, give or take, since she'd vanished. My gut twisted. She kept talking, words tumbling out. "I made a mistake. I was lost, Tom. I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm back now. We can fix this." Fix this? I almost laughed, but it caught in my throat. She stepped closer, holding the kid like a shield, and I saw it in her face, guilt, desperation. "I know I hurt you," she went on, voice cracking. "But I've changed. I want us again. You, me, and her." She nodded at the girl like that sealed it. I looked at the kid, dark hair, nothing like me, and felt this cold certainty settle in. She wasn't mine. Never could be. My head was screaming, betrayal, sharp and fresh, cutting through the calm I'd built. She'd left me, run off, had a kid with some other guy, and now here she was, acting like I just opened the door and play house. I clenched my fists, felt the calluses from months of work, and remembered who I'd become. Not the guy she ditched, the one who'd crawled out of that hole alone. "Jenny," I said, finally, voice low, steady. "You don't get to do this." She blinked, smile faltering. "What?" she whispered. I took a breath, felt the weight of every mile I'd run, every night I'd fought to reclaim myself. "You made your choice. You walked out. I didn't get a say in that. Now you don't get a say in this." Her eyes widened, lips trembling, but I wasn't done. "That's not my kid. And you're not my wife anymore. Not in any way that matters." She stood there, clutching the girl, tears welling up. "Tom, please. I'm sorry. I need you. Need me. Not love, not want, need." Like I was her fallback plan, her safety net after whatever mess she'd made. I shook my head, felt something snap loose inside, not pain, not anymore. "You needed me gone once. Now I need you gone. For good." So there we were, fellas, me and Jenny, face to face in my driveway, the past crashing into the present like a damn freight train. She's standing there, tears streaking her face, that little girl fussing in her arms, looking at me like I'm supposed to fix her life. I could see it in her eyes, panic, regret, maybe even a flicker of the old Jenny I used to know. But that guy she married? He wasn't standing there anymore. I'd buried him somewhere along the way, and I wasn't digging him up for her. "Please, Tom," she said again, voice breaking. "I know I messed up. I was stupid, selfish, I thought I needed something else, someone else. But it wasn't real. This is real. Us. Us." That word hit me like a slug to the chest, but not because I wanted it. It was the gall of it, the nerve after she'd torched everything we had. I looked at her, then at the kid, innocent, caught in whatever storm she'd brewed, and felt this calm settle over me. Not anger, not anymore. Just clarity. "Jenny," I said, slow, deliberate, "there's no us. You killed it when you walked out. No call, just gone. I spent months tearing myself apart, wondering what I did, how I failed you. But it wasn't me. It was you. And now you don't get to waltz back in here with a kid that ain't mine and call it a do-over. Her mouth opened like she had something left to say, but I held up a hand. Nah, I'm done listening. You made your bed. Lie in it. She flinched, hugged the girl tighter, tears spilling fast now. I thought you'd understand, she whispered. I thought you'd still, she trailed off, maybe realizing how hollow it sounded. I didn't budge, just stood there, arms crossed, feeling the weight of every step I'd taken to get here. She took a shaky breath, nodded like she finally got it, and turned back to her car. I watched her strap the kid in, slow and shaky, then slide behind the wheel. She didn't look at me again, just pulled out, gravel crunching, and drove off into the dusk. I stood there till the taillights faded, Buddy nudging my leg like he knew something big just happened. The air felt still, heavy, but not suffocating. I walked to the porch, sank onto the swing, and let out a long breath I didn't know I'd been holding. No ache, no second-guessing, just this quiet, steady hum inside. I'd closed the door, literal and figurative, and it didn't hurt. It felt right. Later that night, I sat in the garage, Chevy gleaming under the lights, and cracked a beer. Thought about the guy I used to be, desperate for her love, lost without it. He was gone now, replaced by someone tougher, someone whole. I didn't need her forgiveness or her promises. I'd forgiven myself, built myself back up, and that was enough. The past was just dust in the rearview, and ahead? Open road, mine to take. I raised the bottle to that, grinned, and knew I was free. All right, fellas, after Jenny drove off that night, I figured that was the end of it, the last chapter of a book I'd been dying to close. And in a way, it was. But life's funny, it doesn't just stop when you think you've won. It keeps rolling, and so did I. Standing there on that porch, watching her taillights vanish, I felt this weight lift off me, sure, but there was something else too. A question, quiet but nagging. What now, Tom? I'd fought so hard to get free of her shadow, now I had to figure out what to do with all that space. The next morning, I woke up different. Sun was up, coffee was brewing, and Buddy was scratching at the door like always. But me? I wasn't just going through the motions anymore. I grabbed my running shoes, hit the trails hard, legs pumping, lungs burning, sweat dripping. Felt like I was running towards something, not away. Back home, I showered, looked in the mirror, and saw a guy I liked, beard trimmed, eyes clear, shoulders squared. I'd built this Tom, piece by piece, and damn if I wasn't proud of him. Work took on new life too. I'd always been good with cars, but now I was great. Customers noticed, started asking for me by name. Tom's the guy, they'd say, and I'd grin, wrench in hand, feeling like I was worth something again. That '67 Chevy in my garage? I finished her up cherry red, purring like a dream. Took her out on the highway one night, windows down, radio blasting some old Stones. Wind in my face, I laughed out loud, just me in the road. Didn't need nobody else to make that moment real. I started saying yes to things too. Mike and the guys dragged me to a car show one weekend, big deal, vintage rides from all over. I brought the Chevy, parked her proud, and spent the day jawing with gearheads like me. Met a guy there, Pete, retired mechanic, Vietnam vet, rough around the edges but sharp as hell. We hit it off, swapping stories over beers. He'd lost a wife too, not to betrayal, but cancer. You don't get over it, he said, you get through it. That stuck with me. We started hanging out, fishing trips, poker nights. First time in years I had a real buddy, not just a drinking partner. Therapy with Dave wound down around then. Last session he leaned back, grinned, and said, you don't need me anymore, Tom. You're good. I shook his hand, walked out feeling 10 feet tall. He was right, I was good. Not perfect, not fixed, but solid. I'd sit on that porch swing some nights, Buddy at my feet, and think about the future. Not kids or marriage, been there, burned that, but something mine. Maybe a little shop of my own one day, fixing classics, passing on what I knew. Jenny crossed my mind now and then, but it was like a faded scar there, but not hurting. I didn't hate her anymore. Didn't need to. I'd taken back my life, and it was better than anything we'd dreamed up together. The road ahead was wide open, and for the first time I wasn't scared to drive it alone. So, fellas, life was humming along pretty sweet after I sent Jenny packing for good. I found my rhythm, running trails, wrenching on cars, shooting the breeze with Pete over a couple cold ones. The days weren't just something to get through anymore, they had weight, meaning. I'd busted my ass to rebuild, and now I was reaping it. But you know how it goes, just when you think you've got it all sorted, something sneaks up and shakes the table. It started at the shop. This kid, maybe 19, skinny, all elbows and nerves, rolled in one day with a beat-up '72 Mustang. Thing was a rust bucket, barely running, but he had this look in his eye like it was his whole world. Can you fix it, mister? He asked, voice cracking a little. I wiped my hands, gave it a once-over, and nodded. Yeah, I can fix it. Gonna take some work, though. He grinned, all teeth, and said, I'll help. Wanna learn? Name was Josh. Worked part-time at the gas station, saved every dime for that car. At first, I figured I'd just show him a few tricks, get him out of my hair. But he kept showing up after school, weekends, always with questions. Why's the carburetor do that? How do you time the engine? Kid soaked it up like a sponge. I'd catch myself explaining stuff my old man taught me, and he'd nod, scribble notes on a greasy pad. Reminded me of me at that age, all hunger and no quit. Before I knew it, we're elbow deep in that Mustang, laughing when we drop a bolt, cussing when the timing's off. Pete caught wind of it, started ribbing me. What's this, Tom? You running a damn daycare now? I'd laugh, shove him off, but he wasn't wrong. It felt good having Josh around. One night, we're finishing up, Mustang purring like a kitten, and he looks at me, says, "Thanks, Tom." Nobody else gave a damn. Hit me hard, that. I just grunted, "Yeah, well, you're all right, kid," but inside I felt something shift. Like maybe I had more to give than I thought. That got me thinking bigger. I'd been kicking around the idea of my own shop, nothing fancy, just a spot for classics, a place to keep the old beasts alive. Talked it over with Pete one day, fishing poles in hand, lake stretching out quiet. "You got the chops," he said, cracking a beer. "And that kid'd follow you anywhere." I chewed on that, started sketching plans, small garage, couple bays, maybe Josh is my first hire. Bank like the numbers, I'd saved enough to make a dent. Felt like a long shot, but the kind worth taking. Nights on the porch, I'd sit with Buddy, watching the stars, and think about it all. Jenny was a ghost now, barely a whisper. What mattered was this, Josh's grin when the Mustang roared, Pete's gruff nods, the dream taking shape. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was building something, passing something on. And damn if that didn't feel like the best win yet. Alright, guys, by now I was rolling with a whole new gear in life, and it felt damn good. That shop idea? It wasn't just talk anymore. I found a spot, old warehouse on the edge of town, rough but solid, with enough room for a couple lifts and a workbench. Signed the papers on a crisp fall day, hands shaking a little as I handed over the deposit. Tom's Classic Rides, I called it. Painted the sign myself, a red letters, bold as hell. Stood back with Pete and Josh when it went up, all of us grinning like fools. "Looks like you mean business," Pete said, slapping my back. Damn right I did. Josh was in from day one, quit the gas station, started full-time with me. Kid was a natural, hands steady, head quick. We'd work late, radio cranking, tearing into some old Charger or Fairlane, grease under our nails. I'd show him the tricks, how to feel a misfire, how to coax a stubborn bolt, and he'd get the spark in his eye, same one I had when I was his age. "You're a hell of a teacher, Tom," he said once, wiping sweat off his brow. I just shrugged, but it stuck with me. Teaching him wasn't just about cars, it was about grit, about not giving up when life kicks you down. Word got around fast. Guys I'd known from the old shop, car show buddies, even a few graybeards Pete dragged in, they started bringing their rides. "Heard you're the man for classics," they'd say, and I'd nod, take a look, give him a fair price. Business wasn't booming yet, but it was steady enough to keep the lights on and then some. Pete dropped by, tinker a little, mostly just shoot the breeze. "You're building a damn empire," he'd joke, but I saw the pride in his squint. Felt like I'd found my tribe, guys who got the rumble of an engine, the beauty of a clean rebuild. One night, we're closing up, Josh sweeping, me tallying receipts, when this old timer rolls in, towing a '55 Chevy Bel Air. Beat to hell, but a gem underneath. "Belonged to my brother," he says, voice rough. "He's gone now. Can you bring her back?" I looked at Josh, saw that spark flare, and said, "Yeah, we'll do her right." Took months, late nights, cussing, coffee by the gallon, but when she rolled out, cherry red and gleaming, that guy teared up. "He'd love this," he said, shaking my hand. Josh beamed, and I felt it too. This wasn't just a job. It was something bigger. Sundays I'd take the '67 Chevy out, cruise the backroads, wind whipping past. Buddy'd ride shotgun sometimes, tongue flapping, and I'd think about where I'd been, gutted, lost, a shell of a man after Jenny. Yeah? I had a shop, a crew, a purpose. I wasn't just fixing cars, I was fixing something in me, in Josh, maybe even in those guys who trusted me with their memories. The past was a speck in the mirror, and ahead? A road I'd paved myself, wide and roaring with life. So here we are, fellas, the end of the road, or maybe the start of a new one, depending how you look at it. Tom's Classic Rides was more than a shop now, it was my lifeblood, pumping steady and strong. Josh was damn near running the place some days. Kid had grown into his own, barking orders at the part-time guy we'd hired, all confidence and grease. Pete still hung around, sipping coffee, telling war stories to anyone who'd listen. Me? I was the guy holding it together, and I'd never felt more alive. One Saturday, we're slammed 3 cars in, a '69 Camaro with a busted tranny taking up my bay. I'm under the hood, wrench in hand, when Josh calls out, "Tom, you got a visitor." I wipe my hands, step out, and freeze. It's her, Jenny, standing by the door, no kid this time, just her, looking thinner, older. My gut clenches, but it's not the old ache. It's something else, curiosity, maybe pity. She's got that same nervous smile, hands twisting her purse strap. "Hey, Tom," she says, soft, like she's stepping on glass. I nod, keep it cool. "Jenny, what's up?" She takes a breath, launches in. "I saw the shop in the paper, some article about local businesses. You're doing good, huh? I just wanted to say I'm proud of you. And sorry again. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I mean it." I look at her, really look, lines on her face, shadows under her eyes. She's not the woman who left, not the one who came begging either. She's just someone I used to know. "Thanks," I say, voice steady. "Appreciate it. Hope you're all right." That's it, no venom, no invite to stay. She nods, lingers a second, then turns and goes. I watch her drive off, same gravel crunches before, and feel nothing but a shrug. She's a footnote now, not the story. I head back to the Camaro, dive in, and let the work wash her away. That night, we throw a little party, shop's 1-year anniversary. Pete brings his grill, Josh hauls in a cooler of beers, customers and buddies pile in. Music's loud, laughter's louder, and I'm standing there, burger in hand, watching it all. Josh clinks his bottle against mine, says, "Couldn't have done it without you, boss." Pete chimes in, "Damn straight. You're a stubborn son of a gun, Tom." I laugh, shake my head, but my chest's full of pride, yeah, but something deeper. Later, I step outside, lean on the Chevy, look up at the stars. Think about the guy I was, broken, betrayed, drowning in whiskey, and what-ifs. Then the guy I am, scarred but standing, surrounded by good men, good work, a life I carved out of the wreckage. Jenny's betrayal didn't end me, it forged me. I rebuilt, not just cars, but me, stronger, freer, whole. The road behind's a hell of a tale, but the one ahead? That's mine to ride, full throttle, no looking back. I raise my beer to the sky, take a long pull, and grin. "Here's to me, fellas," I mutter. "And to whatever's next." Then I head back in, the roar of my people pulling me home. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. If you liked the story, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm show my content more often. If you are new to the channel, do not forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep making more stories for you.